He left without saying goodbye 7 years ago. She was standing on the porch when he came back. He left on a Tuesday in March, which was the wrong month to leave, because March in the Ozarks is the month when the redbuds bloom, and the creeks fill, and the hills turn from gray to green, and green is the color of staying, and staying was the thing Colm Brashear did not do. He saddled his horse before dawn. He rode south. He did not leave a note, because a note would have required an explanation, and an explanation would have required a reason, and the reason was the thing Colm did not have. He had only the leaving that was not a decision, but a compulsion. The compulsion of a man who believed that the woman he loved deserved better than what he was, and that the better than could only be achieved by his absence. And the absence was the gift, though it did not feel like a gift to the woman he left behind. The woman was Trudy Ainslee. She was 22 years old when Colm left, which made her 29 now. And the 7 years between 22 and 29 are the years that change a person from becoming into become. The years when the soft clay of youth hardens into the fired pottery of adulthood. And the firing was the leaving, because the leaving was the kiln, the heat that transformed Trudy from a girl who waited into a woman who did not. She did not wait. That was the thing Colm did not know, and could not have known, because knowing would have required being there, and being there was the thing he had chosen not to do. She did not sit on the porch and look south. She did not keep his place at the table. She did not preserve his room, or his clothes, or the hollow in the mattress where his body had been. She dismantled the evidence of him the way a person dismantles a structure that has failed, methodically, without sentiment, because sentiment is the luxury of people who have not been abandoned, and Trudy had been abandoned, and the abandoned do not have luxuries. She ran the farm. The farm was 40 acres of Ozark hill country outside Branton, Arkansas. Rocky land, difficult land that produced more stones than corn, and more frustration than profit. But the producing was the living, and the living was what Trudy did. She plowed the fields herself. She mended the fences herself. She butchered the hogs herself. She did everything herself because herself was the only person available, and the only person was the strength that is not celebrated because no one is watching, the strength that happens in silence, in the before dawn dark, in the late evening tired, in the middle of the night worry that is the companion of every person who manages alone. She had taught herself to shoe the horse by watching the farrier once and remembering. She had taught herself to repair the well pump by taking it apart and understanding how the parts connected. She had taught herself the accounting of the farm, the prices at the mercantile, the yields per acre, the margin between what the land produced and what the living cost, and the accounting said she was surviving, and surviving was the floor, and the floor was solid, and the solid was the achievement. She was the strength that grows from necessity the way trees grow from rock, not easily, not quickly, but with the particular tenacity that rocky soil produces, the tenacity that says, I will grow here because here is where I am. She was not bitter. Bitterness is the fermentation of anger, and anger requires energy, and energy spent on a man who left 7 years ago is energy wasted, and Trudy did not waste energy. She spent it on the farm and the chickens and the garden and the mending and the daily labor of a life that had been built for two and that functioned for one because one was what she had, and what she had was what she used. Colm came back on a Thursday in October. He came back the way he had left, on a horse, at a time when the light was transitional, the light of late afternoon, that is neither day nor evening but the hinge between them, the hinge that allows things to swing from one state to another, and Colm was swinging from gone to here, from absent to present, from the man who left to the man who returned. He had been to Texas. He had been to Texas and to the Indian Territory and to Colorado and to places that do not have names, places that are just grass and sky, and the particular emptiness that the West provides to men who are running from something. And Colm had been running from the belief that he was not enough for Trudy, not enough for the farm, not enough for the life that staying would have required. And the running had taken 7 years, and the 7 years had taught him the thing he should have known before he left, which was that enough is not a quantity you achieve by leaving. Enough is a quality you discover by staying. And he had not stayed, and the not staying was the error, and the error was 7 years long. He rode up the path to the farmhouse. The path was the same path, the same ruts, the same stones, the same curve around the oak tree that had been old when Colm was young. But the sameness was deceptive, because the path was the same, and everything else was different. The fences were better, the fields were cleaner, the barn had a new roof. The improvements were the evidence of Trudy's 7 years, the evidence that said she had not merely survived his leaving, but had thrived in it. The thriving, the proof that his belief, the belief that she needed him, was wrong, and the wrongness was the lesson, and the lesson was arriving at the same time as the man. Trudy was standing on the porch. She was standing there not because she was waiting. She had stopped waiting 7 years ago, the stopping a decision that was permanent, and that had stayed permanent through every season of every year. But because she had been sweeping the porch, and had looked up, and had seen a rider on the path, and had recognized the rider the way you recognize a handwriting you have not seen in years, the recognition instant and involuntary, stored in the body rather than the mind, the body remembering what the mind had worked to forget. She did not move. The not moving was the statement that said, I am not coming to you. I am not running to you. I am not meeting you halfway. You left, and the leaving was your choice, and the returning is your choice, and the distance between the path and the porch is your distance to close, and the closing is your responsibility, and responsibility is the thing you owe. Colm dismounted at the bottom of the porch steps. He stood there. He stood with the reins in his hand, and the horse behind him, and 7 years between them, the 7 years a distance greater than Texas or Colorado or any of the places he had been, because physical distance can be closed by riding, and emotional distance can only be closed by speaking, and speaking was the thing he needed to do. I should not have left, Colm said. No, you should not have left. I left because I believed you deserved better. I deserved a goodbye. Better would have included a goodbye. Better would have included a conversation. Better would have included the respect of telling me you were leaving, instead of letting me discover it from an empty stable in a cold bed. I know. You know now. You did not know then. The not knowing then is the thing I have carried for 7 years, the thing that weighs more than the leaving itself. Not that you left, but that you did not think I was worth the words. And the not thinking was the wound, and the wound healed, but healed things have scars, and scars are permanent. Colm looked at the farm. He looked at the fences and the fields and the barn roof and the porch that was swept clean, and the woman who was standing on it with a broom in her hand. And the looking was the seeing of what 7 years of her work had produced, a farm that was better than the farm he had left, a woman who was stronger than the woman he had left, a life that had been built in his absence and that did not require his presence. You do not need me, Colm said. The saying was the realization arriving in the moment on the path at the bottom of the steps, with the horse and the reins and the 7 years. You do not need me. You have done everything without me. The farm is better. You are stronger. The without me was the proof that my leaving was not the sacrifice I believed it was. My leaving was the abandonment, and the abandonment was selfish, and the selfish was the error. I do not need you, Trudy said. The not needing is the thing your leaving taught me. It taught me that needing a person who can leave is a vulnerability, and I have eliminated the vulnerability, and the eliminating was the survival, and the survival was necessary. Then I have no right to be here. You have no right. You have only the asking, and the asking is the thing you did not do 7 years ago, and the not asking was the crime, and the crime was the silence of a man who rode away without words. If you are here to ride away again without words, then ride. If you are here to speak, then speak. The speaking is the thing I require, not the staying, not the returning, the speaking. Words. The words you owed me 7 years ago. The words that explain not why you left, but why you are here. Colm set the reins on the post. The setting was the staying. The physical act that says the horse is not going anywhere, and neither am I. And the neither am I was the commitment, the first commitment, small and physical, and made of leather and a wooden post. I am here because every place I went was not here. Every place I went was not the porch, and not the path, and not the farm, and not you. And the not you was the absence that I created by leaving, and the absence followed me because the absence was not in the place. The absence was in me, the absence of you inside me, and the inside absence is the one you cannot outrun because you carry it. And I carried it to Texas and Colorado and everywhere, and the carrying was the punishment, and the punishment was just because the crime was the silence, and the silence deserved punishment. That is not an apology. That is a confession. An apology requires the words I am sorry, and the words I was wrong, and the words I will not do this again, and the three sets of words are the apology, and the apology is the minimum. I am sorry, I was wrong, I will not do this again. The three things are true. The three things have been true for 7 years. The three things are the reason I am standing at the bottom of your steps instead of riding past, because riding past would have been easier and easier, is the thing I have been choosing for 7 years, and I am done choosing easier. Trudy looked at Colm. She looked at him with the assessment of a woman who has spent 7 years becoming the person she is, the assessment that is not anger and not forgiveness, but the thing between them, which is consideration, the weighing of what was against what could be, the weighing that is the work of a mind that has been fired in the kiln of abandonment, and that is harder now, more durable, less likely to break. You may sleep in the barn, Trudy said. The barn is not the house. The barn is the distance between where you are and where you want to be, and the distance is appropriate, because 7 years of absence cannot be closed by 7 minutes of speaking. The closing will take time. The time is the cost. The cost is fair. The cost is fair, Colm said. He slept in the barn. He slept in the barn that night, and the next night, and the nights that followed, and the sleeping in the barn was the earning of the trust that he had spent by leaving, the trust that is the currency of relationships, and that once spent must be earned back. And earning back is harder than earning, because earning back requires the acknowledgement that you spent it, and the acknowledgement was the apology, and the apology was the beginning, and the beginning was the barn. He worked the farm the way Trudy worked the farm, hard, thoroughly, without complaint, without the expectation of reward, because reward is the thing you earn, and earning requires time, and time was what Colm was giving, the giving of days and weeks, the giving that says, I am here and I am staying, and the staying is the proof. Trudy watched him work. She watched him from the porch, from the kitchen window, from the doorway of the house that he was not yet welcome in, and the watching was the measuring of consistency, because consistency is the evidence of change, and change is the thing that trust requires, and trust was the thing Trudy would not give until the evidence was sufficient. The evidence accumulated. It accumulated the way leaves accumulate in autumn, one at a time, each one small, each one adding to the pile growing until the pile is the proof, and the proof was the fixed fences, and the plowed fields, and the repaired barn, and the mornings when Colm was already working, when Trudy came out at dawn, the already working the evidence that he was not sleeping in, and not shirking, and not leaving, and the not leaving was the most important evidence, because the not leaving was the thing he had failed at before. Spring came. The redbuds bloomed. The creeks filled. The hills turned from gray to green. You may come inside, Trudy said. She said it on a morning in March. March, the month he had left. The month becoming the month he was invited back. The symmetry, the justice that time provides when time is given the space to work. Colm came inside. He came inside and sat at the table, and Trudy set a plate in front of him. And the plate was the welcome that had taken 7 months to earn, and that was worth 7 months. Because the worth of a thing is proportional to the cost of obtaining it, and the cost had been the barn, and the work, and the consistency, and the speaking, and the apology, and the time was the price, and the price was paid. They did not speak during breakfast. They did not need to speak. Because the plate was the speaking. The plate that said, "You are here, and you are welcome, and the welcome is earned, and the earned is real, and real is the only kind of welcome that matters, and the only kind of love that lasts. The love that was tested by 7 years of absence and 7 months of barn, and that survived because it was not the fragile love of 22-year-olds who do not know. That love requires more than feeling. Love requires staying, and staying was the thing Colm had finally learned, and the learning was the price, and the breakfast was the receipt.